You're watching Car Babble. I'm Ewan, and this is the Tesla Model Y, the long-range dual motors and all-wheel drive, and I'm absolutely buzzing to get the review on. Now, if you're shopping for a premium EV as your main family car, then there's a fair chance you've looked at the Tesla Model Y. But is it any good? Well, in this video, I'm going to try and answer that question and whether it should be on your shortlist compared to a lot of its rivals. And there's a big growing list of those. However, this is such a big video for me because there's so much to say about this car that I'm going to break it down into two different videos. And this is part one, where we're going to talk about the interior, practicality, storage, infotainment software, and a lot of other things. And part two, we're going to cover the driving experience, efficiencies, and range and stuff like that. I've also got some really useful information and feedback from the owner of this car. So I'm going to be able to share some of that I verified, because the long-term impressions of this car are important, and there's a lot of perks and quirks that build a case for the Tesla over time, but also make you go, could I live with those issues? So I want to share a lot of those things with you because that's really important stuff. So if you enjoy my videos, don't forget to like and subscribe. Otherwise, buckle up and let's get into it. Now, Teslas all look fairly similar, whether it's the 3, the Y, the X, the S, they all kind of look similar. And therefore, you're either a fan of the looks of Teslas or you're not. And I don't think it's their strongest suit. And I'm okay with saying that. And I'm not a big fan of the looks of this car because even the owner isn't a big fan of the looks of this car. And he still bought it anyway, which tells you something about how many other things that are compelling points about this car are reasons to buy it, that you might overlook the fact that you might not think it's that good looking. But certainly from the front, it looks a lot like the 3. I mean, it is basically a proportionally bigger version of the 3. And yeah, you've got your bug-shaped kind of LED lights and this very simplistic front, no grille, so you know it's an EV from that. But yeah, I kind of feel like it's like a Porsche Cayenne got together with the Volkswagen Beetle on a night out. One thing led to another. 9 months later, out popped the Tesla Model Y. But those are my thoughts. Let me know yours. Now, the side view is probably my favourite view of this car, but I don't think it looks like an SUV. And it's got the same capabilities as most other SUVs on the road. The ground clearance and the gap between the wheel arch and the wheel, it's all, yeah, in line with every other SUV that's out there. But it just doesn't look like an SUV. It feels like a big car on stilts. However, I think what's really important proportionally for it is to get the 20-inch wheels, and they're optional on the standard and long range. The performance model gets 21s, and without any adaptive or air suspension in this car, yeah, I would be really worried about having those on Scottish and British roads, to be honest. But this has got the optional 20s, and we'll soon find out how it drives with those. But I think they look really good. And yeah, the 19s, I've seen ones driving with the 19s, and I just think it looks a bit top heavy. So for me, the 20s make it look a lot better. And with the 20s, you only get the black rims, and with the 19s, you get the silver ones. So in this case, it works. White with the black, I think it really works. But yeah, that's a bit annoying that you can't choose the colour of your alloys depending on your tyre size. But overall, I think it's a nice view from the side. Now, I'm not usually a fan of coupe SUVs because, well, SUV stands for sports utility vehicle, and when you cut off some of the boot to make it more coupe-like, you're just basically reducing the utility. So I'd rather have function over form any day, but some people would prefer to have form. And okay, that's fine, but in the case of the Tesla, I'm going to make an exception, and we'll talk more about boot space in a minute, because it's just bloody massive. So it doesn't really matter that it's like that. However, it does make it look a bit nicer in its profile, and I really like this built-in spoiler, but there's not much else to talk about really. It's really quite sleek and shiny, and there's no exhausts or anything like that. It's just very simplistic and very Tesla. From the back end, you would definitely think this was a Model X from distance. But yeah, about the boot, and that's a really important point for a family really, is to have a decent sized boot. And you're not going to be disappointed in the Tesla Model Y power tailgate. Now, I've left the dog mats in here because two reasons. One, I couldn't be arsed taking them out, and two, there's almost no tie-down points in here at all to worry about. So you're not missing seeing something by these being in here, and you can definitely still see the size of this boot. With the parcel shelf off, 854 litres. That is absolutely mental. That is way more than any of its rivals, probably 300 litres more than any of its rivals. And you've even got these little side bits, which are little bits, and you can get these mats put in there, which the owner did. And he had that because when his dog goes in the back, he doesn't want his doggy's feet like slipping down the sides. But you've got those, and underneath here, the size of that, absolutely massive. That is like a beer cooler in there. That is huge. I don't know if that's included, to be honest, in the 854 litres, but who cares? That is more space than any reasonable size family is ever going to need. You've also got 40, 20, 40 split folding seats, and if you put them down electrically, you've got 2,158 litres, and yeah, you could go camping in that. That's absolutely massive. And even after talking about all that space in the boot, you've got a front boot with 117 litres of space. That's a really useful space there. You can put your cables there, you can get your shopping bags. That's a lot of space. It's just incredible how much storage space there is in this car. Absolutely brilliant. Now, this could be seen as a petty point to some people, but as a parent of young children, I think this could be an issue at times, especially with my youngest, because he's at that age where it's like, yeah, he knows how to pull a handle, but that's about it. And this one, in the Tesla, you press it in and pull it out, which is nice and minimalist and slick lines and all that, but I think for really young kids, if you're going, oh, get yourself in the back and you're not wanting to have to go around and physically open the door for them, they might not be able to do that. The space in the back of this Model Y is really quite something. Yeah, it's amazing back here. 3 people could comfortably sit back here. The middle seat's not as wide as there are 2 seats, but overall you've got enough space for 3 people. And the seats are super comfy, just like the front. And you've got absolutely no transmission tunnel. It's completely flat on the floor. So yeah, 3 sets of legs would easily fit in here. But what's most amazing is you can get on the other 2 seats, your feet almost entirely straight underneath the seats. That's incredible. And that just makes you feel that you've got way more room than you actually do. Knee room is good though. My seat's in my driving position, I'm 5'9". Headroom, yeah, slightly compromised maybe if you're over 6 foot. Could be a wee bit snug, but yeah, I'm splitting hairs there. This is really spacious. You've got 2 vents in the middle, 2 USB-Cs. You've got Isofix in there, 2 seats, not the easiest to get to. And then you've got this center armrest, not the easiest to get down. But you can put your elbows on the edges of it. But in the middle, it's going to be hitting these plasticky cup holders, but they are adaptive. So yes, cup holders go, they're decent enough, but at least you've got something. Door bins, felt lined, and yeah, lots of space in there. Things will not rattle about, so they're really good door bins. You've got pockets in the back of the seats. This lovely pan roof that goes all the way back. This is a really, really good back seat. Now, when you get a Tesla, you know that you're not getting a lot of buttons to play with. That's just what they're known for. It's here's your touchscreen and basically control the whole car through that. Pros and cons with that, but we'll come back to touchscreens in a minute. What I am noticing right away is that there is no head-up display, no digital cockpit, nothing in my eye line. And that would really, really, really grate on me. And I would say that would be one of the main things that would make me think twice about buying this car. That really seems ridiculous from Tesla, because you get one in the Model X and Model S, but in the 3 and the Y, they went, no, sorry, you're not getting one. You've got your speedo in the top right corner of your infotainment screen, and so you're going to be doing this, and that's basically it. But yeah, very, very minimalist, but it looks pretty wow in here, I have to say. These seats are really comfy. Now, white wouldn't be my choice because I've got young kids, and the owner of this car said that he has had some moments of regret about having white seats as well, but they certainly look really nice and they are really comfortable. Yeah, just so soft. Absolutely brilliant. I'm really, really pleased with the seats. You've got electric seats on both sides, and you've got lumbar support on this side as well, and they're memory seats as well, and everything can be personalized and customized and set up for you as a driver. But build quality is the thing that everybody talks about with Teslas and how it's basically not very good. Well, I can't see any glaring obvious issues in here. It feels pretty well built. Everything's solid. Yeah, this doesn't move. Everything feels really, really quite robust, and touch points are all really soft. Steering wheel feels really nice in the hands, a good thickness. It's not particularly expensive material, but it's a nice steering wheel. And yeah, you've got these 2 little scroll wheels, and you can shift left and right on those and press them. That's it for buttons. And yeah, you've got soft on your elbow points. Yeah, pretty good. And you can touch your elbows and the steering wheel at the same time, which is great. Indicator stocks, pretty high quality, if I can get it to go off. And the door close, that's high quality as well. So yeah, they've really got quality, if I could say that word any more times, pretty good in this car, at least perceived quality anyway. Over time will tell if you really have a lot of things falling apart, but it doesn't look like that's going to happen. Now, storage up front in this car is really, really bloody good as well. The door bins are massive, they go all the way back, they're felt lined, you get a big bottle in there too. Then you've got this central bin here, which, yep, get my forearm just about in there. And then 2 cup holders, which are not adaptive, not particularly deep, and things will rattle about there, so they're not very good. And then you've got another huge bin. I can get my whole forearm in there. Massive. You can get trays that you can buy extra from Tesla to put in there to raise them up if you so wish. And then you've got a glove box, which you have to open using a button on the screen, but it's not a very big glove box, and you don't have a sunglasses holder. But hey, we can forgive those things given all these bits are so massive. Now, aside from these two wireless charging pads, which you can just put your two phones in, brilliant. You've also got two USB-Cs in this big bin at the front, and you've got two in the back. So connectivity is fantastic, but also if you have this package that gives you music streaming and all that, it's about $10 a month. You get access to Netflix and all sorts of stuff to make the entertainment part of this car even more awesome. But then everything is available like a phone without actually having to use a hotspot. So that's even better connectivity. Yep, they've just about thought of everything. Now, when you buy a Tesla, you've got pros and cons, because if you're somebody who likes a lot of buttons, then you're out of luck, really. And you're going to need to just use these two little scroll wheels on the steering wheel and customize what functions they have. And everything else is in this touchscreen. You've also got voice control, which tried a couple of times, isn't amazing, and the owner said the same. You're going to be using this touchscreen for just about everything. So you probably want to set up your profiles and your settings that you like as a driver, and then just try and use it as low as possible once you're actually driving. But as a computer, let alone an infotainment system, it's just wow. It's like you've got a massive home tablet with the fastest processor and all the access to games and movies and music and little quirky things all in your infotainment system. It's just completely revolutionary compared to other cars. You can make this car fart. I mean, who doesn't want a car that can fart? But you can do everything. You've got so many little things to entertain you while you're charging. And if you pay for this pack that gives you all your music streaming and stuff like that, it's like a $10 a month, then it just means that, you know, wireless hotspots, don't need to worry about any of that stuff anymore. The functionality is just mental. The graphics are so clear. It's just, every time you look at it, you just feel like you're looking at something totally unique and special, and you feel like the whole car centers around looking at this amazing screen, and everything is controlled through here. Like I say, your glove box is open through here, your frunk. So many things that would normally have a button go through here, and that will be annoying in ways, but in other ways, do you know what? I mean, on my home screen here, I've actually got the bonnet button. I can just tap it and it'll open. So it's actually easier than going fiddling down here looking for a lever or something. So it's just really quite an amazing system, and it's just going to get better over time because it's always going to get these over-the-air software updates, and that will also help fix some gremlins in the car and unlock functionality that the car has that you can't actually get access to yet because of like regional and, you know, international laws and stuff like that. We'll come back to that. But there's just so many things that this can do and is capable of doing that you can't even do now. It's just amazing. Now just imagine you're on a family trip and you decide to charge it, and you can stop for an hour or two to get some charge. Yeah, no problem, you know. Guys, it's like we're going to the cinema, or a drive-in cinema, just put on a movie. Off you go, everybody lean in, let's watch it, you know. That's just so cool to be able to do that. And it will mean that that painful side of the road charge that you have to do that makes having an EV seem a burden at times just seems less of an issue, you know. It's just such a really gimmicky but fun system to play with. And then this light show button is amazing as well. You can like download certain songs, and then it will do a dance with the lights and the wing mirrors and the boot and the windows. All that will move up and down, in and out to the beat of the song. It's just like, who thought of that? What were they smoking? It's amazing though. And I just, you know, once you've had that, your kids are never going to be happy if their car can't do that again. But the standard kit in this car, I mean, I've talked about it throughout the video already, but it's just so much more than you would get in its rivals. It's just the hassle factor of not having to bother and add options on as well. It's just like, you've got everything. You've got amazing safety tech and autonomous driving. You've got a great sound system, a panoramic roof that goes all the way back. That's standard. Electric heated memory seats. You've got wireless charging, this amazing infotainment system. Absolutely everything is included here, and you can really barely add any options other than further autonomous driving tech. So yeah, it's great. Now, another cool Tesla-ism is this key. It's basically like a credit card, and that is your key, and you put it to the side of the door, and yeah, it unlocks the car. And you just sit it here in the middle when you're driving. It does fall off actually, but once you're driving, it's fine. But you can also use your phone as your key, and the owner of the car does that and said, yeah, it's an absolute game changer because you've always got your phone on you. So yeah, phone's in his pocket, gets up to the car, boom, in you go, you know. It's just so simple, but that's the sort of thing that Tesla have thought ahead of and are just beating the competition on innovation for. Something else that Tesla seems to be well ahead of the game on is Sentry mode. So the cameras that are all around the car as standard, they will record while the car's parked. And therefore, if somebody bumps your car or tries to steal it or whatever, yeah, they're getting recorded. So when that comes to court appearances and all that stuff and insurance claims, you've got a really, really easy way of arguing that case. Absolutely brilliant. Tesla also do remote functionality very well, and you can preheat the car very easily from your phones. You're sitting having your breakfast, it's like, oh yeah, it's cold out there. A couple of button presses, and when you get up to your car, which is so easy to get into because obviously you can just use your phone and just step up and open the door, you get in, your heated seats on, your steering wheel's heated up, and the climate's lovely. It's little things like that that just add to why this is just such an awesome experience. There are other cars where you've got apps that will do similar things, but it's just another thing that Tesla also does. Now, one of the biggest things that frustrates the owner of this car is these windows. Now, you've got the electric button to open them, and that's really simple, and it will lower the window because it's a frameless one to do that, but there's a manual override in case you have an emergency to open the doors. And yeah, it's in a very convenient place that some people might just default think, oh, that must be the button, press it or pull it. And yeah, the problem is, and this is well reported, by the way, quite a lot of people have had this issue, the windows don't always drop when you do it, and so you could pull it to open it and the windows don't drop and you could break your windows. So yeah, that's a really, really silly problem to have, but that is one of those little gremlins about Teslas that you go, too many electrics, and yeah, occasionally it comes back to bite you. Now, of course, quality includes paintwork, and that's definitely a weakness for this car, especially with white. You see it more. The paint's really quite thin and flaky, and there's quite a lot of chip marks on it, and yeah, it seems to come off very easily. So the owner of this car really wishes he'd got PPF on it. And yeah, I could see why, because over time that could be a real problem, especially maybe in white. So that's something to bear in mind. And speaking of paint, you only get 5 options of colours on this car and 2 options of wheels, which is the silver or the black. It's really not a lot of customization. I mean, you consider how many of these are being sold in the UK and the fact that more and more seem to be getting sold in the UK. When there's so little customization, you're going to see an awful lot of the same car on the road. And therefore, it's never going to feel that special and, you know, customized to you. So yeah, that's definitely something they need to work on. I believe they are actually making improvements towards that, but right now, yeah, your options aren't great. Now, if you've been watching my channel, you'll know that a car saying it has high beam assist and then it not being reliable, therefore when you're driving along on high beam, it doesn't dip your beams quick enough, and you end up getting that from other drivers, drives me nuts. I hate that. And amazingly, for a car that's so techy, this car had the same issue and the high beam assist was rubbish. However, it was fixed with a software update. Isn't that cool? That's the sort of thing you would have to go to a garage and say, hey, can you fix this for me? And they maybe will, maybe they can't. But in this car, it was actually fixed by a software update. So that's awesome. But what's even more amazing is this car's got pixel LED headlights, adaptive LED headlights that will change their beams for oncoming drivers. You can even write the word Tesla with the lights when you do the light show. The really fancy techie lights that newer cars have. This car has it, but because legally in America it's not okay to use yet, it's not actually functional in this car. So eventually they will unlock that through a software update and you'll have that functionality in this car. But right now you don't have it, which is really quite mental. But one other thing the owner of this car talked about is the auto wipers. And it's like, that's a really basic thing in a car to get right. And they don't work very well. And I've not been able to really use them much because it's not really rained when I've had the car, so I'm taking his word for it on this one, but he said they're just woeful. So it's like, that stuff is where I feel like Tesla undermine all the amazing things they do in their cars. It's like they're so focused on the really awesome techie stuff that they take their eye off the ball a little bit with the basics. And if they could just get those sorts of things right a bit better, yeah, there would be very little to fault. Now, today I managed to get insurance eventually, but not after quite a lot of jiggery pokery and trying different places. I do temporary car insurance on the cars I review, and every place I tried did not accept insurance on this car, saying it was too expensive or the insurer wouldn't underwrite it. And it's like, this is not the most expensive car I've reviewed. So why is it so difficult to get insurance for this? I'd love somebody to tell me, but it's about Group 48 insurance, which is really high. So it seems that this car, for some reason, it might be something to do with potential repair bills. For some reason, this car is deemed a very high risk car if it breaks. and therefore they treat it like it's a supercar almost for insurance. That could be a real problem for some people. The buying experience for a Tesla is also an interesting one, because for Aberdeen, for example, you have a service centre for them up here, but you can't physically buy it from Aberdeen, so you have to go all the way to Glasgow to get one, which is a real pain in the neck. That's a 400-mile round trip. And so, yeah, it's a unique experience buying a Tesla, and when you go to their site, apparently it's amazing, and you know, you can just buy your car online in a few minutes, just like you're ordering something on Amazon. But actually collecting it, depending where you live, might actually be a little bit of a ball ache. Now this car starts at 45 grand for the rear wheel drive standard. This one, the long range, is 53 grand thereabouts, and if you go for the performance one, you're about 60 grand. I really think the sweet spot is the long range, and just having more range, having an all-wheel drive, especially where I live, that would be a must. The instant torque of an EV, having rear-wheel drive. I mean, I can spin out my X-Drive BMW 320D in a roundabout sometimes, so I would hate to have that much power in a rear-wheel drive electric car. So the long-range all-wheel drive is definitely the one I would go for. And if you were to get one on a personal lease, I worked out some numbers here with a 6 grand deposit, which is still quite a big deposit, obviously, 10,000 miles a year limit over 4 years, and you're looking at about $550 a month to run this thing. I mean, you consider that your energy bills are going to be so much lower than a petrol or diesel, then it starts to feel like quite good value. And you consider you've got all the toys included with this, as opposed to its rivals where you need to option the heck out of them, which will then mean it's way more expensive. That feels like amazing value. Now, competitors for this car, there's blimmin' loads of them. You've got the BMW iX3, the Jaguar I-Pace, the Audi Q4 e-tron, the Volvo XC40 Recharge, the Polestar 2, then you've got the Hyundai Ioniq 5, the Kia EV6, the, I'm trying to think of some other ones, Ford Mustang Mach-E, loads and loads of them, and they're all super quick cars. They'll be probably just about as quick as this, but we'll talk more about the driving side of things in the next video. But outside of that, in terms of the interior, there's a sense of occasion in this car that is just something very special and unique. It definitely isn't as premium feeling as some rivals out there, but the build quality is better than I thought it was going to be. But yeah, it's just such a fun place to spend time, and because the free over-the-air updates are going to keep bringing in new functionality, then you're going to get new things with your car. So it's going to almost be like you're refreshing your car all the time and getting something extra for it. And I just think it's going to be so entertaining for kids, you know, this massive touchscreen and all the things it can do, and the fact you've got all the other things like major practicality and then the performance, which I'm going to tell you about shortly. Yeah, it's a really compelling package, and it's hard to see that if you want something that feels like a revolutionary car, how you could possibly overlook the Tesla Model Y. Anyway, those are my thoughts. I'd love to know yours, so please do leave me a comment below. Let me know your thoughts on this video and your experience of driving a Tesla. And if you enjoyed my video, don't forget to give it a like and subscribe, because there's a lot more coming up on the channel. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in part 2.